I do not agree with the Scripture Union in the 1960s, because in the book of Matthew, it says when they hit you on the left, you turn the left. I said, that way. You see, you. Now, how I argued with them, I said, but when Jesus found people sitting in the hekalu, he was violent. He overturned tables and upset the plates and everything. And there's no record that he paid compensation. So I have never agreed that Christians should be pacifist or should. In fact, the NRA, our concept of justice is like the old Mosaic law, an eye for an eye, a tooth for a tooth. But it must be truthful.
This is the journey to One Africa.
The ministers, the members of parliament, the religious leaders, the cultural leaders, and all the invitees. First of all, I want to thank the parliament for sustaining this effort of the prayer breakfast. You heard them saying that this is the 27th year when we have had the prayer breakfast. Mom and myself, and we went with Cardinal Subuga and Archbishop Yona Okoth, and I think some other people, went to the United States for their prayer breakfast in Congress, their parliament. We were invited by our friend Doug Cope. He died. Doug Cope. And he briefed us how it had all started. That it had started in the Cold War, when groups were not talking to one another, communists and all that, and capitalists, and so they used it to bring people together in that informal way. Then I told Doug Coe, but this is NRM. What we are doing here is NRM, but you didn't know, you didn't call it NRM. This is what we believe ourselves. I was surprised because what they were doing is exactly what we had been preaching since the 1960s. As you heard Chris Rocker Sisi, when he was speaking, he told you about the theories we came with from the university. These were exactly those theories. We didn't agree with the sectarian politics. We didn't agree with that politics. So I'm glad that you have sustained it, and you should not forget that genesis. That was the whole idea. I don't know whether they still have it in the US, because Doug Coe died. Some of the senators, I see them there, like Senator Grassley. I see him still there. He's a very old man, but I don't know whether they are continuing. I have not been there recently. So this is point number one, to encourage the Parliament Prayer Breakfast Group, sustain the effort. Now, secondly, I want to thank Mr. Chris Rocker Sisi and the pastor, the Bishop Masinde. Mulembe. Uriena. Makua. Wanyara Chimirimu. we are speaking our language. Because those are Bagisu from Kenya. Do we have some Bagisu here? I saw some here, they were praying. Bagisu, they are there. Ah, that's their king. That's their king. So that's your person. So when you hear the name Masinde, I know that is a Mugisu from Kenya. Baluya, they are called Baluya in Kenya. So I want to thank Mr. Chris Rock Assisi for his very powerful testimony which you had. And I also want to thank Bishop Masinde for his message of forgiveness, but adding also tolerance, making 3 words instead of 2. Instead of forgiving and forgetting, but we also tolerance thereafter as a culture. Now, my only little contribution would be like the way we were handling, like the case of Mr. Chris Rock Assisi. I think the church leaders and the Muslims need to spend a little bit of time, because I have been involved in all this. I've been involved in the politics of Uganda from 1960, more or less, as a youth. I was involved. Of course, Chris Rock Assisi was also involved in UPC from very early. But as we were getting involved, some of us were coming from a cultural base, which some of the cultures in Africa here are very strong cultures, which I think you should somehow study them, how they can blend with Christianity and maybe Islam, because like some of the things we did were partly Christian but also traditional. In some of the communities we come from, I've been thinking about this, but I had not crystallized it. But when I heard the talking, and now it again came in my head. Like in our area, where Rock Assisi also comes from, we never believe in surprise attack. Surprise attack is regarded as cowardice. But in other parts of the world, surprise attack is cleverness. Surprise people, you are clever. But here, even for war, you must, like if I come to fight with you, and I find you looking the other way, not seeing me, not knowing that I've come from behind you, I clear my throat. And you turn around. And when you turn around, I insult you, I've come to cut your mother, something. Then you fight. But in other cultures, treachery is like cleverness. Now, Mr. Rock Assisi was belonging to UPC, which I belonged to briefly, but then we separated again. Now, by 1979-80, we had problems, which should not have been there. If we were talking, there was no talking. Then, because of that polarization, my group started organizing. First of all, we were supposed to create one army of the different factions. Now, Otafire, one of us, said that we had 9,000 guns, 9,000 rifles with us that time by the fall of Amin. But to form a new army called UNRA, we had to give in all our guns. Now, Otafire, who was one of us, said we should hide at least 1,000 guns and handing the others. We keep the others. You never know. This UPC may turn against us. I rejected it. I said, no. I cannot be part of an agreement, turning all the guns, and then we hide some. In my head, it was partly Christian, but also partly traditional, because really some of these communities, that's how they behave. So I rejected the ideas. I said, let's hand in all the guns. If it becomes necessary to fight, we shall get them again. So that was one hurdle, one had to jump. To be treacherous or not. This really was the trap. How do you live? Do you live by treachery? I cannot live by treachery. I rejected it. Let's hand in all the guns. If it becomes necessary, we shall get those guns. So that was hurdle number one. And I don't know how I would feel if we had listened to Otafire. I think I would be dead from blood pressure and from internal disgust with myself. Then it now came to fighting. When it came to fighting, my group came and said we should kill Oito Jok. Oito Jok was the chief of staff of the Rockassis group. That we should surprise him. We had rooms in Nairo Hotel. They call it something now. What do they call it now?
Serena.
Serena. They call it Serena. We used to have some rooms there. People who had come from exile. Now my group made a plan called Operation Chichwa. Operation Chichwa. That if we kill Oito Jok, we shall have cut off the head of UPC, and it will be easy for us. I said no. I rejected it. I vetoed it. It was not easy because my group were really involved in that. I vetoed it. I said I cannot attack somebody in his house, which I see people doing in the world. They are fighting, killing people in houses. I look at these people, I'm not really impressed by what I see in the other culture. So I refused. I said I cannot allow you to kill Oito Jok in his residence with his children and wife and so. Let's fight. Let's go. That's why we called our army National Resistance. We didn't want to fight. What we wanted was to send a message to the other people that we have refused. Tuangire, we have refused. If they were clever, they would have negotiated with us. Because we are not really interested in fighting. But we wanted to say, no, we are not going to accept. If you want, we can talk. I actually met Mwanga after the elections twice. Once I met him with Peter Otai, and I told them, I said, if you want to avoid trouble, and we were saying so before the election, we were saying that if the elections are rigged, we are going to fight, to go to the bush. Now, our other people were treating it as a joke. They thought that we were just talking. Yeah. So that was trap number 2, which I fortunately I saved our army from doing treachery. Then when we were in the government here, Peter Otai had fled to London, was living in London. Now, one of our people here who think they are doing a good job had sent poison to kill Peter Otai in London. The thing is a good plan to forward. You poison somebody. When I got to know, I said, this cannot happen with us. We don't do those dirty things. If we want to fight, we fight openly, not. So I called the MI5 girl. She was a girl here from the British intelligence. I said, please, you go here, you go there. Where they had put the poison, I told the girl to tell Peter Otai. So, and when I was doing all this, some of my people were thinking I was naive. That I was naive. But it seems God likes the naive people. That I was naive. I was not like when we started fighting. That's why you hear that we started with 27 guns. We had only 27 guns. The ones of my bodyguards. We had handed in 9,000 and resisted the Otafuire plan of hiding something. 1,000. I said, please. And when we were having those troubles, getting the guns, then some of my colleagues would say, didn't we not tell you? Suppose you have listened to. I said, no, those things of yours have no. I feel very strong now because I'm morally free. I didn't betray anybody. I feel very strong. We shall. Of course, I think. I'm sure God looks at the naive. The naivety seems to be. God seems to look after them favorably, as our daughter from Nigeria was praying. So now, when it came to Chris, another side, another what you need to know for the NRA, especially the army, we actually believe in the law of Moses. An eye for an eye. So it's not true that we are just forgiveness unconditionally. It's not true. We have executed soldiers who killed people. We hanged some few people in Luzora there. The man from Ruero, the UPC man from Ruero, I've forgotten his name. There was a UPC man in Ruero whom, Sevirumbi, Kasimo Bura, and another one. They were like 3. So it's not true that we forgive. This is also another topic which I do not agree with the Scripture Union. In the 1960s, because in the book of Matthew, it says when they hit you on the left, you turn the left. I said, that way. You're sitting, yo. Now, how I argued with Albert Taylor, our traveling secretary of the Scripture Union, 1965, at our conference in Muiri. I said, but when Jesus found people sailing in the Ekaru, he was violent. He overturned tables and upset the plates and everything. And there's no record that he paid compensation. So I have never agreed that Christians should be pacifist or should. In fact, the NRA, our concept of justice is like the old Mosaic law, an eye for an eye, a tooth for a tooth. But it must be truthful. So when it came to the case of Chris, of course, I have not had time to discuss with Chris all the details. When I was saying that Chris killed my two children, it's true that UPC killed our two children. It is true. UPC, Chris is a group. Chris is former group. It is true they killed they killed many people, including our two children, Kamu and Namara. They were not directly from Mom and myself, but they were of our relatives. So it's true that that group there killed a boy called Kamu. There were school children here in Kampala, staying in Nakuru. They were just killed, two of them. One was called Kamu, another one was called Namara. They were killed. So it was true. It was. But when it came to the case of Chris, and this is where I would also want to share testimony. He left out a step in his message which you should put in. And this was when you are condemned to go where he was, isolation, waiting to be hanged. There is another step which he did not mention. There is a committee called the Prerogative of Mercy Committee. This is a committee of some prominent lawyers who study the case again and advise the president. In the case of Chris, I think if I remember correctly, for them they had advised that I should hang him. Chibita, do you remember that? Come and tell us, Chibita, judge. Because Chibita was my legal secretary. What had the Committee of Mercy advised?
Your Excellency, the committee advised that we needed to talk to the families of the victims. And we went to Mbarara and met...
Oh, that's what they advised?
Yeah, that we talked to the families and see what they say. So we went and talked to 3 families. And they said whatever His Excellency decides, but as far as for us we are concerned, would let the law take its course. And that's what we came and advised Your Excellency.
Mm-hmm. Mm. So, but I remember, when I got those documents, I don't remember which type, regarding Greece. There was still the old state house here, a small state house here, and I had the small office on the other side. I went there and prayed. And I said, this case of Chris, is it really true that he killed these people and should be hanged, or there could be a mistake? Now somehow a voice, I don't know what you call it. Some my Moroccan people call it a voice, but it was like a feeling inside me. But I think that's what you call a voice. Told me that it's not correct. Don't sign that instrument, whatever it was, whether it was the death sentence or whatever. So don't sign it. That one I remember very well. In that small office, the old office of the president. So that's when now we had to click because you see for me, I think blending the Christianity and the modern law of punitive, which is also similar to the NRA, which is an eye for an eye, but blending it with the tradition. Because according to our traditions, there must be full accountability. But accountability is not always punitive. It can be reconstructive. In our culture, there are two mistakes. There is shedding of blood, which attracts what we call enzugu. Enzugu is vendetta. According to our tribal laws, if you kill my brother, I am duty bound. There is now enzugu between my clan and your clan. And I'm duty bound to revenge. Okora. But the other side can come and negotiate for reconciliation. That is, they call it Okaraba. You can come and we negotiate and we say, instead of revenge, they pay maybe some, they call it Okaraba, bring cows and so on and compensate. And then they perform ceremonies and the matter is finished. That is now a big offense like bloodshed. If it is a small offense, okchumura, like insult, like insult, like what Bishop Masinde was saying, our solution is, that is called Okchumra. It is not Enzugu, but it is Okchumra. And the answer for that is not Okaraba, but Okhonga. Okhonga is to pay to compensate for a mistake other than murder, smaller than murder. So therefore, what I did, because to release Chris without the families of the other children, the other ones who died, there were the two children, our own children, and then there were another group of children from the neighborhood there who had been killed by the group, the UPC. We are now to call these families in Reichstra. They didn't agree. I don't think they agreed. They agreed, but they said, as Chibita said, if I decide, they would accept. But for them, they wanted the law of Moses. So that's how what I see there. I remember going to that office and praying. How do I handle the issue of Chris? Now, I didn't even know, because later on when I met him, he told me his version, which he told you here, that it was a false evidence. Yes, the UPC was killing people, but not necessarily Chris Rwakasisi as a person. But you can see that in this case, they brought a corporal who reasonably could that it was like staged witnesses, not the truth. So, but I think in all this, what I have seen in the last 65 years, when I have been involved for most of the time very actively since 1971, what you should avoid is avoid evil, whatever you are doing. Don't plan evil, don't do evil. And like my young people, the members of parliament, the anger, very angry, because these people cheated us here, Tango Doi cheated me here. This one there. Yes, because between us and the UPC group, we were feeling a lot of unfairness because we had been fighting Amin for 8 years. And then when we come here, UPC wants to exclude us and do it behind the Tanzanians. They thought that with the Tanzanians here would do nothing. Of course, it was a miscalculation. And that's why, so we were very angry with them. Very angry with Moshi. The Moshi was a conference where we met and we were cheated. We were given, I had 9,000 fighters in Mbarara, but we were given only two seats out of, because the groups were out of 56 seats, they gave us 2. For the NRC, the National, for the NCC, National Consultative Council, I didn't even put forward my name. I put because I had only 2 slots, I put forward the name of Elia Kategaya and Christopher, Father Okoth, Christopher Okoth. So we had grievances in Moshi, grievances in, but also UPC had their own grievances because Obote had also been excluded, Obote as a person. So this unfairness but in spite of all those unfairnesses, don't do any evil. You just keep doing the right thing, because I can see that God really has been on our side, because I don't know why, but I partly think it could be because of that, because we avoid evil. Whether we are angry, whether we are what, we had the power to assassinate people, to kill people, but we never used it. Never used it. Assassinate people, do this, poison. No, we rejected that. Our fight was open fight, and avoiding all dirty ways of fighting. But what I see in the world, some of the people think that all methods are permissible as long as you are fighting. That's not correct. So the witness of Honorable Chris Rokas is a very good witness, because God has kept him alive, has kept me alive, so that we give you these stories. Because if I was here, if I was not here, maybe you will not get this story. And if you was not here, you will not get this story, which we have got today. So therefore, in summary, what especially the politician, even if they cheat you, if you are doing right things, God will come to your aid at the right time. And you don't have to be bitter, because even after the elections, we could have negotiated with the UPC. That's why I met Mwanga in Kororo with Peter Otai, and again I met him here. He had a house here somewhere near Victoria Hotel. He had a house somewhere there. I met him there to this time, and I told him that if you want to avoid trouble, we should talk seriously. But they were not interested. So please, when you are what Bishop Masindi is telling you, whatever is happening, look for the good things if they are there about your country, and talk about those also. Even if you are rejecting some things, but there must be some good things that you can talk about. And if, like in the UPC had agreed that time, we would have talked. would have found a solution, but they didn't agree. We had also talked with the DP, but the DP also had their own plans to use religion to do what. So this is a very powerful, these are very powerful testimony from the Chris Rock Assisi, and a very strong message from Bishop Masinde. I'm very happy that we are all here to listen to the two. May God bless all of us. Thank you so much.